says Monopoly is a suitable game for children age 6 and under. And if you don't know much about Monopoly, that wouldn't help. But Monopoly is a pretty complicated game. Some adults can't even figure out how to play it. So it's not really good for very small children. That's why that's false. And number 8 is even more extreme than that. You could cross out the word not and the out part of without, because that's the negative. And when you do that and you read what's left, it says a test may be with or have poorly worded questions. Is that true, that a test may have poorly worded questions? Yes, like that one. And so that's why that's true. And when people see that, they think, why didn't they just say it that way? Then I would have gotten it right. I don't even know that's what they were asking. Again, it's confusing. So as I said, usually you can't do it physically by crossing out, but you could take words out, read what's left, and just see, does it make more sense now? This won't always work. Like, it won't solve the problem every time, but a lot of times it will. And once you take the negatives out and read what's left, you think, okay, now I know what it's asking, and hopefully you studied correctly, and as a result you do well on that. Okay, so there's a lot more that I could explain about true false, but these are, I think, some of the most important ideas. So we're going to spend the last part of the workshop talking about essays. And this is most people's least favorite kind of test. If you love writing and every time you get an essay test you get excited, that's good, but you're kind of in the minority. Most people would rather fill in a bubble on a Scantron anytime rather than write. So I'm going to give you some ideas, and I have to tell you one really quick thing before we start this, and that is everything that I'm going to tell you in the next 10 to 15 minutes has nothing to do with English teachers. Okay, all of you have had English teachers before, and you know the way they are with your writing. They get out a magnifying glass and they find every little thing, and they're very picky about everything. And the reason they are is because they're trying to turn you into good writers. Okay, so that's their job. But most teachers, when you write for them in college, they have a different way of looking at it than English teachers do. And so the first thing that I wanted to tell you is this. I don't know if you're familiar with these terms or not, but this is always an important place for me to start when it comes to essay tests. There are two types of test questions that you get in your life, objective and subjective. Okay? Every question is one of those two. Some tests have both on them, depending. Well, objective, the best way to remember that is that any question that you can answer by filling in a bubble on a Scantron is considered an objective question. So that would normally be multiple choice, true, false, that kind of thing. Subjective is totally different, and the most common type is essay, although it can include any kind of written assignment or report or anything like that. And the reason that I think this is important to know is this. All of you have done Scantron tests before, and when you get your Scantron back, you see pink lines, hopefully not too many of them, but pink lines, right? And those are all the wrong answers. And then you see a score stamped on there. That's your score. It has nothing to do with the teacher's opinion, view, anything else. It's just whatever you get, you get. And that's why it's called objective. But subjective is totally different from that. It is up to the mood and the opinion of the teacher, and they're looking for certain things, but there are certain things students do all the time in writing that drive teachers crazy. And if you drive your teacher crazy, what happens to your grade? Yeah, it just starts, pretty soon it's circling the drain at the bottom. So if you know ahead of time what bothers a teacher, you'll try not to do it, and then hopefully that should